Now, I mentioned earlier that there's another function whose graph follows the same three basic points, and that's the absolute value function. Haven't talked about that. I don't think I talked about it in the video, 2 or 3 videos earlier, but it's in your book. It's not difficult to understand. And the shape of the graph is simply 2 straight lines that make a V. So drawing this in green, and it's not as symmetric as it ought to be. This is a hand sketch. I've got a bad angle on the board, and I'm not all that great at doing this. But you have the same points. Okay, so -1, 1, 1, 1, and 0, 0 are all points of the absolute value function. So that when I translate these 3 points, we see what happens to the absolute value function. It forms a sharper V because it's been stretched in the y direction, and it's also upside down. It's been inverted. Now, at that point, it maintains its shape. The V, it doesn't get any sharper or any less sharp. And of course, there are going to be some differences in the board. I'm not real consistent with my scaling, but the V is going to translate like this. Okay, stretch by factor 2, invert. Move it 5 units that way, you get this. Move it 3 units down, you get this. At the risk of messing up this graph, I think I can do this and stay halfway coherent. The cubing function would have the point -1, -1. Okay? And it would also have the point 0, 0, the point 1, 1, and you recall you have the point 1/2, 1/8, -1/2, -1/8, 1/2, 1/8, and the graph is going to have a, well, the graph is going to, and I just started to draw the cube root function. It's going to have point -2, -8, so it's going to come up from down here, going to level off here, it's going to come back up through here. Okay, so this blue graph is a graph of the cubing function. I was talking about the cubing function, and I started to draw the cube root function. You should think about how the cube root function would behave as well. Now, if we stretch this by factor 2 and invert it, the point -1, 1 is going to come to the point -1, 2. And then the point 0, 0 and 1, -2 will be on the graph, and the graph is going to, you could plot more points, but it's not hard to see that the graph is going to look like this. Then if we translate it, I'm not going to label the point, you should figure out what the point's going to be. We're going to have the point, well, it's going to be 4, 2 over here, and then these 2 points, and again it's going to come down like this, going to level off and come down here. And here we're going to have the point 4, -1. Again, I'm not going to label that. We're pushing it as it is, but it's going to do this sort of thing. So we see 3 different graphs and the way they would transform using these given transformations. Now in the next clip, we'll talk about what these 3 functions would be.